Denied again. FEMA says no to disaster aid and also says no to hazardous mitigation assistance. Think about it. What if your state was devastated by a tornado, hurricane? Or what if your state has been devastated by a tornado or hurricane? And you know how important FEMA was and is to help you rebuild. Not just rebuild, but rebuild smarter. FEMA now is not just only saying no to disaster aid, because there are some states that they approved, right? There are some that they came back and approved. But then they came back and FEMA said, no, we're denying hazardous mitigation funds. These are the funds that help the community rebuild smarter and safer. Hey, I'm Conticia, and welcome to Beyond the Claim. This is Unfiltered Insurance and Adjuster Talk. And I want to dive into this because I want you to understand what happens when FEMA is no longer there. See, a lot of times we don't know it because we have never used it or we have never experienced it. But for those who've used it, for those who've had devastations, they know how important FEMA is. And I want you to understand. All right. But before we get into today's story, I want to remind you of something, you guys. I just have to remind you of this. You know, child sex trafficking is growing. It is a growing crisis. In 2024 alone, over 27,000 cases were reported in the U.S. Just in the U.S. by itself. And most human trafficking victims, they come through the United States. If you see something suspicious, say something. It could be anyone's child. You know, it can be someone you know. Make sure you call the National Human Trafficking Hotline at 1-888-373-7888. Every voice matters and every child deserves protection. I want to say that number again. It is 1-888-373-7888. Please, if you see something, say something. This is what it looks like when a tornado comes through and ravages through your community. And you think FEMA is not needed? Let me tell you something. That FEMA is very important to this country. I had a comment on one of my videos and someone said, well, it's not anyone's responsibility to rebuild your home. No, it's not anyone's responsibility. But I'm going to tell you something. It's a human responsibility. Because I'm going to tell you something. Life will throw all kinds of things at you. And then when it's your turn, you're going to want someone to come in and help you out as well. The reason why I'm letting you all know about this FEMA situation is because it is important. This is very important. I want you to understand. I want to mention to you, when this administration came in, they started rejecting requests that was approved in 2024, despite the prior approval under the term of the Biden administration. These are people who were already approved in 2024. When this administration came in, they started rejecting it. Now, you remember what happened in 2024. You know, the whole political thing was going on. You know, everybody was using everything they could do to win the election. Now, under this administration, one of their talking points, because there were disasters that happened last year, one of the talking points to try to sway people over was that FEMA was not being effective, which was not true. I work for FEMA. I'm an independent adjuster. I know about FEMA. I know about when your homes or cars or things are being devastated or you have catastrophes come in. I know about those situations and how hard it is to rebuild with insurance and without insurance. And the reason why I sort of really want to put it down your throat, because if you think about the last hurricanes that came through, the last ones that came through, what did you have really? What did we have really? We had flooding. We had flooding. In this article, Trump is saying he's turning off the FEMA faucet. He's going to give less. And if you know anything about flooding, you already know that your homeowner insurance don't cover it. Who come and help with flooding? FEMA. Who hold the flood policies? FEMA. So you ask yourself, okay, I may not have coverage for a hurricane that comes through, but that hurricane brings that surge. And then next thing you know, my roof is probably intact, but my home is flooded. FEMA is the one who hold the flood insurance. What are they going to do with that? I'm going to tell you guys something. And I know you may not understand because you've never been through it. But for those who have been through it, they understand. When FEMA comes in, they bring the critical resources that you need. Your home, your community probably is flooded. Who's going to help you get it back together? FEMA comes in, they survey your area, your neighborhood, and then they start taking applications. They used to go and do that door to door because they're worried about the community. Who's going to rebuild? How would your neighborhood come back if 1 out of every 3 homes are flooded and can't rebuild because they don't have the resources? The reason why I'm an advocate, because I've seen both sides. I've seen flooded homes, and I've also had to deny flooded homes as a claim adjuster because the policy just doesn't cover it. I'm going to tell you something. It doesn't matter what state you're in. He's denying you. Take a look at this. You see all these red states? These are red states. These are red states that this administration are denying. And these are the states that overwhelmingly voted for this administration. He does not care. I'm not going to say him, but this administration does not care. Listen, you guys, if you rattle enough chains and you let them know, listen, your seat is up for grab, you better let him know. We need FEMA. You need FEMA. Your community needs FEMA. That hazardous mitigation assistance, that is needed. That is that assistance that when the catastrophe comes through, it's going to help you build smarter. It's going to help you raise your house up, maybe up some, so when the flood water comes, your home won't flood. It's one of those mitigations that they're coming through, trying to make sure that you're rebuilding properly. Those funds are there. They're just not giving them. I want to emphasize to you all how important this is, because it's our communities. This is where we live. This is how our communities stay beautiful. This is how our communities don't get so trashy. We work hard for these homes. And if you take a look at this chart here, these are the states that were denied and approved. You see up here, Kentucky, West Virginia, and Oklahoma, they were approved. They got their approval. But the rest of these, they were denied or they're still under review. And listen, some of the ones that's not on here, like North Carolina previously had an approval from the previous administration. But once this administration came in, they rejected that approval and pretty much saying, no, your state needs to handle that. Can you all imagine the state of Mississippi handling a catastrophic flooding or hurricane that came through? Mississippi is one of the poorest states, but they're one of the states that overwhelmingly voted for this administration. If anybody needs to stand up, it's going to be all those states that overwhelmingly voted for it and say, hey, we need FEMA. We need FEMA to stay because we don't have all the resources. This is why we pay our taxes. This is where we come in at, and we help one another. Yes, when the storm comes, we do go door to door as neighbors, and we go help them get that tree off their house or get a chainsaw and start trying to, clear off the driveway. We do as much as we can humanly possible. But there's also another aspect that comes in, and that's the federal government. And me personally, yes, you can trim some of the fat off the federal government. That's fine with me. But if you're going to say, okay, well, we're going to do FEMA differently and you don't have a plan, you're just going to leave people out to dry without a plan. And you're figuring out as you go. No, you're going to have a plan. If you're going to disrupt something, you got to already have that plan in place, that foundation in place. If you're going to take away a service, you got to have the other foundation in place on how you are going to, from here on out, take care of the services that you used to give. Now remember, now that the current FEMA person that's over it, he said that a plan was going to come out, but then he had to revert and say, hey, we're just going to stick with what was last year, because they don't have a plan yet. You can't remove something without a plan in place. That just doesn't work for the community, for these states, for this country. We need a plan. You guys, there's a bigger picture here. And why does it matter nationally? Because we're in this country and we're living together. And I don't want my neighborhood, just taken over by floodwaters. And it's just not floodwaters that's coming from an ocean. Do you know as much rain that we have had lately, it's causing flood? When that surface water comes up, that's surface water. And you know what your insurance company is going to say? How did it come in? Through the outside. That's surface water. That's a denial. So just remember, you just want to question it and ask yourself, why would the federal government want to roll back disaster funds or disaster assistance? There has to be some type of accountability. I don't care what party you're with. We all are in this together, and you all have to question it and say, no, FEMA needs to stay. FEMA should stay. Or if you feel like FEMA's doing too much, come up with a plan. Don't just cut FEMA without a plan. You're going to, me personally, let me tell you what you're going to have to do. I'm going to call you to action. I'm going to encourage you to check your local disaster preparedness plans. See what your local government has in place for just in case if a disaster comes. All this rain that we're getting, this earth can shift. The foundation can shift at any time. The houses can shift. The flood waters come. My house is up. So anytime I get rain, it's going down. And I feel bad for my neighbors behind me because it's going down. And it can easily flood them. But the policy, your homeowner's policy won't cover that. And that's another thing. I'm going to do a video on flood insurance. Me personally, I'm thinking now that we all should have a small flood policy. Who handles those flood policies? Who will issue those flood policies? Who pay out those flood policies? That's a part of FEMA. Now, I'm going to ask you to think about, what would you do if flood came? If your roads are wiped out, who's going to help take care of that? Yes, you have your local state, but your local state only does so much. Federal government, they are here. We do pay our tax dollars. And this is something to me that I want to fight for, because I feel, being a FEMA employee from time to time, also as an independent adjuster, denying claims for flood is not fun. When I'm looking at photos on how the flood and the waters have come through, I'm going to tell you, a water claim, those are the worst claims, because it can do a lot of damage. And your insurance company normally don't pay for that. This is where FEMA and the FEMA flood policy come in. I'm telling you guys, I want you to understand, FEMA may be a part that we all need to come together and fight for. No matter what part of the aisle you on or whatever, you better wake up and understand this is also your livelihood. Now, I'm going to call you to action. See what your state has planned. FEMA may not be there to help your state. See what your state has planned. What type of federal or what type of state assistance will be for you? It's time to hold them accountable, because we do all pay our taxes. Now, Until next time, stay covered, stay educated, and keep it beyond the claim. And do not forget to subscribe. Share this video. Anyone who have any type of insurance, this is the podcast, this is the YouTube channel for them. I'm going to dive into all kind of insurance so we all can stay educated, we all can do our homework and make sure that we're paying what we're paying for is what we're getting. Until next time, again, stay covered, stay educated, and keep it beyond the claim. I'll see you on the next video.